What happens when mortal desire meets divine deception? In the misty realm where gods and mortals collide, one king's lustful ambition would birth an entire race of legendary creatures through the most elaborate trick in Greek mythology. In ancient Greece, where Mount Olympus touched the heavens and mortals lived under the watchful eyes of the gods, stories weren't just entertainment. They were warnings, lessons carved in marble and whispered through generations. The Greeks understood that the line between divine favor and divine wrath was thinner than morning mist. Our tale begins with King Ixion of the Lapiths, a ruler whose name would become synonymous with both privilege and punishment. Ixion wasn't just any mortal king. He had committed the ultimate sin, murdering his own father-in-law by pushing him into a pit of burning coals. This act of kinslaying marked him as cursed among mortals, an outcast even among his own people. But Zeus, the king of gods, showed unexpected mercy. Perhaps moved by pity or seeing potential for a greater lesson, Zeus performed an unprecedented act. He purified Ixion of his blood guilt and invited him to dine at the table of the gods on Mount Olympus. No mortal had ever received such an honor. Imagine ascending to Olympus, where golden halls echo with divine laughter and ambrosia flows like wine. The air itself shimmers with power, and every breath fills you with the essence of immortality. For Ixion, this should have been the ultimate redemption, a chance to prove himself worthy of divine grace. But mortal nature, especially one already stained with murder, doesn't change easily. As Ixion sat among the gods, his eyes fell upon Hera, Zeus's wife and queen of the heavens. Her beauty was beyond mortal comprehension, radiating the power of marriage, motherhood, and divine authority. Where any wise man would have averted his gaze in reverence, Ixion stared with growing desire. Hera, goddess of marriage and protector of marital bonds, noticed immediately. The audacity of this blood-stained mortal lusting after the Queen of Heaven filled her with righteous fury. But Hera was no ordinary angry wife. She was a goddess of cunning intelligence, and her revenge would be both creative and eternal. Here enters our true protagonist, Nephele, the cloud nymph whose name means cloud in ancient Greek. Nephele wasn't born from the union of titans or forged in divine workshops. She was crafted by Hera herself from clouds and mist, shaped with divine artistry to serve a very specific purpose. Hera molded Nephele to be her perfect double, identical in every visible way. The cloud nymph possessed Hera's ethereal beauty, her graceful movements, even her voice. But Nephele was more than a mere illusion. She was a living being, with her own consciousness, created to be both bait and witness to one of mythology's most elaborate traps. The trap was set with divine precision. Hera approached Zeus with her plan, and even the king of gods admired his wife's cunning. They would test Ixion's true nature once and for all. If he truly repented and respected divine hospitality, he would resist temptation. If not, his punishment would create something entirely new in the world. Nephele was placed in Ixion's path during a feast on Olympus. To the mortal king's eyes, she appeared exactly as Hera, alone and seemingly vulnerable. The cloud nymph played her role perfectly, neither encouraging nor discouraging Ixion's advances, simply existing as the ultimate test of his character. Ixion failed spectacularly. Consumed by lust and blinded by arrogance, he approached what he believed was Hera herself. In his mind, he was about to seduce the Queen of Heaven to possess what belonged to Zeus. The hubris was staggering. Here was a man who had already committed the gravest of family crimes, been shown unprecedented divine mercy, and now sought to compound his sins with adultery against the most powerful goddess in existence. Nephele, bound by her divine purpose, could not refuse him. The union between the cloud nymph and the lustful king was brief but consequential. As their bodies joined, something extraordinary happened. The mixing of mortal flesh with divine cloud stuff, the combination of earthly desire with heavenly essence, created a new form of life. From this union, Nephele conceived and bore a creature unlike anything seen before. This offspring was Centaurus, the first centaur, a being with the torso and head of a man, but the body and legs of a horse. Part human intellect, part animal instinct. Centaurus embodied the very nature of his conception, the result of base desire meeting divine punishment. But Centaurus was lonely, the only one of his kind in a world of pure humans and pure animals. His hybrid nature made him an outcast everywhere. So he sought companionship among the wild mares of Mount Pelion in Thessaly. From these unions came the race of centaurs, creatures forever caught between civilization and wildness, wisdom and savagery. The centaurs inherited their ancestors' dual nature. They possessed human intelligence and speech, but were driven by animal passions and instincts. Some, like Chiron, would become wise teachers and healers. Others would be remembered for their violence and lack of self-control, especially when wine loosened what little restraint they possessed. Meanwhile, Ixion's punishment was only beginning. Zeus revealed the deception, showing the king exactly what he had done. The humiliation was complete. Not only had Ixion been tricked, but his lustful actions had created an entire race of beings that would forever remind the world of his transgression. But Zeus wasn't finished. He bound Ixion to a wheel of fire that would spin through the heavens for eternity. As the wheel turned endlessly, Ixion was forced to cry out a lesson for all to hear. Benefactors deserve honor from those they benefit. His eternal punishment served as a cosmic reminder that divine hospitality must never be repaid with treachery. Nephele's role in this tale reveals the complexity of Greek mythology's moral landscape. She was both victim and instrument. Created for deception, yet becoming the mother of an entire species. Her cloud-born nature made her the perfect bridge between the ethereal realm of gods and the solid world of mortals, giving birth to creatures that embodied this same duality. The centaurs themselves became some of mythology's most enduring figures. They appeared in countless stories, from the adventures of Hercules to the wisdom teachings of Chiron. They represented the eternal human struggle between our higher nature and our baser instincts, between the civilized and the wild. This myth speaks to timeless themes that resonate even today. It warns against the dangers of unchecked desire and the importance of gratitude. Ixion's story shows how privilege, when abused, leads to consequences far beyond what we might imagine. His single act of betrayal didn't just damn himself, but brought an entirely new form of suffering into the world. The tale also explores the nature of creation itself. From deception and punishment came beings capable of both great wisdom and terrible violence. The centaurs remind us that our origins don't determine our destiny, but they do shape our struggles. In art and literature, this story has inspired countless works. Renaissance painters depicted the dramatic moment of Ixion's punishment, while modern fantasy draws heavily on the centaur mythology that began with Nephele's divine deception. The image of the centaur, caught between two natures, continues to symbolize internal conflict and the challenge of balancing opposing forces within ourselves. Nephele's story ultimately reveals that even in the realm of gods, actions have unexpected consequences. Her creation of the centaurs through divine trickery shows that new life can emerge from the most unlikely circumstances, and that sometimes the most significant events begin with the smallest deceptions. So the next time you encounter a centaur in story or art, remember Nephele, the cloud nymph who shaped herself into a goddess's form, and through one king's weakness, gave birth to legend itself.